Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFFing Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Good morning. We are the EFFing Madres. And Carla, who are we?
I'm Carla. This is Romy. And we're two moms, two best friends, two Latin ladies who had this Eff It moment over a year and 9 months ago. And we were, we were literally in this moment of where we were saying Eff it in our lives and needing a shift. And we thought, how cool would it be if we spoke to women who, especially moms, because we're moms, who have made that mental shift and changed the trajectory of their lives and that of their family. And ultimately, no matter what the outcome is, it always ends up being for the better, because when you say Eff it, you try new things. And when you try new things, you learn a lot about yourself. It opens you up to new perspectives and opportunities. And it ends up leading you down a different path, whether it's mentally, spiritually, or even in a physical location. So we have interviewed so many amazing mamas who have had some crazy Eff it moments. And we hope that they inspire you, if you haven't had yours, or you wanting to have it, or you're in the middle of it, to keep going or take that first step, because that first step's always the hardest one to take.
Yeah, it is. It's what like gets you moving. It's that push. It's that internal push off the ledge, right?
Yeah.
It's a mental shove into the direction that you probably need to go in. Today we have a mama on that was recommended to me through a friend of mine, a friend from my boxing gym, Tyler. He works with a bunch of really amazing people here in Austin. And I was telling him about our podcast, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you gotta have this woman on there. Like, she's like perfect for you guys." So reached out, gonna have her on, excited to talk to her. Don't know exactly what her Eff It moment is. She had shared that she's had quite a few, which a lot of times if you've had one, you sure as fuck have had a few more, because it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a way of doing things. So she's very tied into women and I think healthy lifestyles and habits and stuff like that. I've followed her a little bit. I'm really honored that she is taking the time to be with us today. So
awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to bring her in just a second. All right. She's ready to roll. We have Amy Edwards here. Amy, thank you so much for being with us. And our first question is what was that mental shift that made you say Eff it, that you're going to share with us?
This is a very special day for me. I want to say thank you for having me on, and especially on this particular day, and especially with the focus of your podcast. Being a mother in general made me say Eff it in so many ways, and I didn't know that was going to happen in my life. Today that we're recording this is the 19th anniversary of my mother's death. And I was with her when she died. And I was also 7 months pregnant with my daughter, who I named after her. Her name is Sydney. And so I didn't know that letting go of her and her passing, even though she's still with me, and bringing this new life in was going to change my perspective on everything, on the entire way that I lived my life. What am I showing this child? How am I living? Am I being completely true to myself? I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I think a lot of women can relate. Yeah, right. And I was living up until that point. I was 32, and I was living up till that point for everyone else and what they thought. What I thought that they wanted from me, right? The stories that we've created, even though they might not have explicitly said it, although plenty of times they do. You still are subscribing to their story of you, their version of you, and letting go of that when it can be so ingrained at 32, that's a lot of years, right? And so that started stripping away from me. And I started really asking myself questions like, what am I showing her? Am I living true to myself? And my husband at the time, her dad, said to me around that time, I tried to convert to Catholicism because he was, and I got married that way and I felt like I'd committed to it. Well, it did not stick. And he said, I'm like a witchy vibes and woo woo, And he said, I don't want you to teach her what you believe. And I was like, that's just flat out not going to work for me. Like having someone say that to you, right? And so this conglomeration of events just didn't work. Like I had this baby and I realized these things and my mom died. I mean, it's a lot, right? Those are big life things. And then 11 months into when Sydney was, after she was born, she was 11 months old, I broke my leg like really intensely. And it was just, I had to learn to walk again. I mean, it was just so much. And I was like, man, how am I living? Am I happy? I just started questioning. And I think maybe we do that a lot in our 30s. And so that I think just today, it's so special to me to reflect on that. So that is my effort moment.
Geez, I think motherhood, I mean, especially with the passing of a parent in the middle of like you having, carrying your daughter and everything, I think it really does it does turns your world upside down. And it really does make you think like, it just, you reprioritize everything. You're just like, what am I doing? At least for me, I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, where am I going? What's the message that I want to put out there? And what do I want her to see from me, and teach her to be a strong, powerful woman, not in the way that I was taught. I've had to learn that on my own. So I think that that is a really powerful effort moment to have, because
You're so right. You're so right. It truly, like, you don't know till you have it, right? You don't know what you don't know. And I was like, what do I want to teach her to be? Someone who stands up for herself, someone who speaks her truth. And I am so proud that now my girls, they're teenagers now, and they are plenty outspoken. And as much as it can be annoying at times, it's actually really not. It warms my heart. I'm like, yes, you know what? These are not people who are going to give in to what society demands or anything else. They are going to be strong and live their life. And so many things that I've done is because I have those kids. It's because of what I'm
No, Amy,
showing them.
you saying that though, like so many things that you've done is because of having those kids. I just like that right there. And that's why this podcast is like for moms, because only you know as a mom what that will do and how that will change you. Because we do end up doing things I don't know if we would ever do had we not gone through the experience of motherhood, right? I don't know some of the directions that we're all on if they would have happened for not becoming mothers.
Absolutely. I don't know that I would have said yes and pushed myself to become an independent rock and roll artist, right? Which is a wild thing to do in your 40s, but it presented an opportunity. And I was like, this is a way for me to get creative and really express myself. Sydney was already a pretty good singer. And I was like, you know what? Worst case, we sing, she hears me doing it. And I took up guitar, I took up singing. And now she is a vocal performance major at UT, which is very hard to get into here in Austin, and she plays bass. She's a force on stage. I'm just like, you know, and she said along the way, I think she was in high school, and she said something about, looking up to me and noticing that. So you don't think they're noticing at the time, but you do these things because you're like, I know I am showing them what a strong woman looks like, what someone who speaks her mind looks like, what somebody is truly standing in her authentic voice is like. And so they do soak it up even when you don't think they do.
Oh, 100%. They're watching everything. And I was watching and not knowing my own mother. Here I am in my 40s. I look back and there's things I definitely got from her. There's things I'm
Yeah.
fighting that I hope I never get from her. I love her dearly, but things that like I didn't realize I was truly taking in and then became a part of my strength and a part of, my personality, because they soak it all up. I have a little girl as well, but when
Yeah.
you talk about the loss of a mother, it is really special. And then the birth of a daughter, right? And here we are, moms all discussing motherhood, right? On this anniversary, life and death is like a part of it, and who made us and who we make, and just all of that is like this beautiful circle. And I just appreciate you being open about that, because it's like what we're passing on, what we're giving. What is our legacy? What
Yeah.
do we want to like leave our girls, our kids? What do we want to leave what do we want to leave at all in our time here?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mentioned the thing about being an independent rock and roll artist, but also I got divorced twice. I left each of their dads. And I'm not saying, okay,
Girl,
I
I'm
see
right
some
there.
hands raised.
I'm engaged. I'm on wedding 4. So we're
Okay. I'm on
I'm
3.
all about picking your pieces up, you know?
Exactly. And you know what? I bet you can totally relate, Romy, with like
I
what I'm
do.
saying, because I did that because and from their perspective, it's a very different thing, right? Like you ruined the family. I was told all these things, and it was really hard. And I had some really dark moments, and maybe you can relate to that too. But you know what? You come through them and you get stronger, and it gets stronger like a muscle, and you realize I can do
Yes.
anything. And
Yes.
I couldn't stay in a situation that wasn't true to me. And so I hope that one day they will fully understand that. We're not there yet, but they're 14 and 18 right now. So,
I will say, Amy, that one day they will, because yes, I haven't gotten it right. And maybe that's an example of my childhood. Fine. That's on me, right? I haven't mastered marriage. Like, we're praying for this one. But my mom, I couldn't forgive her for most of my life for destroying our life, right? Destroying our family, right? I had this anger at her for not keeping our family together. Fast forward to being a mom, to being my own woman, trying to figure out love and understanding why you don't stay. We've had moments now that's so beautiful where I look at her and I'm just like, I totally get it. I love you. You were just a woman trying to also find your place in the world and figure out how to be loved and love someone and have all these kids and go through a divorce. And here I am as a child judging you. And here I am fast forward as a woman. And the bond between her and I, because of that, is so much stronger.
oh my
It's,
God,
you
that's
know,
bringing
it's
tears
so
to
much
my
stronger.
eyes.
Yeah,
Oh, it's so good. Wow. Yeah, of course it is, and it just takes time. Yes.
it does.
Yeah. I was going to say in regards to just living our true selves, like once we become moms, and how important it is for us to do that, because I don't know about you, but obviously it sounds Romy, like we were raised by women, at least for myself, who weren't living their authentic selves at all. And the shit that piles into your children, like hence now I'm 42 and I'm having to work through all of that negative bullshit still. So like if we can start at a young age with our kids now, showing them that we are trying to live our authentic paths, that at least they've got that core foundation instilled in them from the beginning. And whatever other shit comes in, sure, they're going to deal with some shit. But when they have that core foundation that, like, I need to do what makes me happy and I need to speak up for myself, like, how much power, at least I know if I had that growing up, man, like what I would be doing, like I'm having to do that now. So it's
Yeah.
so important to find that when you become a mom. And if you feel like if you really feel like you're like working through that mud or that sludge every day with your kids and you're wondering why, it's probably because you're not living authentically.
Yeah,
And
for
that fucking
sure.
sucks. Yeah.
And so what can you do, right? What do you do? And my advice, and I'm sure you guys have some excellent advice too. What do you do when you notice that, right? You start to tune into yourself. For me, it was a lot of just like literal reprogramming. I'm a ruminator, and so I'll repeat things in my head over and over. And I didn't even know what ruminations were for a long time. And to break that, I just had to get shit in my head on repeat that no one had said to me. I just said to myself. And one of those was, I am doing a great job as a mom. Like, I am a great mother. And I just had
Mm-hmm.
to just put that on lock in my head, even though I was being told I wasn't because I was doing X, Y, whatever. And so you are what you believe, period. So start
Amen.
believing that. And to be a great mother, you have to have that self-care, right? So then you start into like, I care for myself, I love myself. You look within and you start getting through that sludge, and you start really loving yourself, and you start finding your voice, and all these things start to take their own take a life of their own.
I think it's important though, like what you're saying in terms of that, and I get that 100%. I think as women though, we've fallen into this like, and as moms, like what looks like a healthy mom? What looks like a good mom? What is the like, what am I putting out there so everyone sees me and that looks like a really good mom, right? And the deeper conversation, and you're already bringing up questions that we ask here, like what did you do? How did you do it? Like what was that moment? And what you're talking about is those effort moments. It's the effort moments where I'm going to effing say, I'm going to speak love into myself. But love, when you speak that into yourself and you talk about who you are and you start to believe that that is who you are, you're not just saying it. You're not just going to yoga and saying your manifestations, which is all good stuff. But like, you're not just doing the actions, right? You have to truly start to believe who you want to be and who you see yourself as. And when you stop really giving a shit, and I don't, like, this is an area which I don't struggle with. Carla knows this. Like, I just don't give a shit what you think of me. What I give a shit about is what I think about myself. And I'm my worst enemy. I'm my worst, my war is in my head. I don't give a shit if everyone says she's failed, her marriages, this, that, she's out of their control. She's got a naked picture up. What's her daughter going to think? I don't fucking care what they think, right? What I care about is, do I love myself? Am I showing up for myself? Do I mean what I'm trying to put out there? Does it mean something like to me? And is it something that I can be proud of with my daughter? And so when you get there, and I'm sure you felt that, Amy, when you get there, like really there, it's like there's no stopping you. Because it's about your own self-approval and no one else's. And I feel like magical fucking things happen as women when we really get there.
Yeah, I think they do. And for me, it's a practice. It really is. It's not like I don't give a shit. Like for
Yeah.
me, old things come up,
Mm-hmm.
comparisons, whatever. Oh, wait, you signed them up for what? You're already on top of all your summer camps? Holy fuck. Like, am I failing as a mom? And and you start to just go like, oh my God, I got to do all this stuff. I got to catch up. I got to get my kid this and that. And you know what? It's just wiping all that shit clean, right? Recognizing that those are coming up in my head. Nobody's really saying you're not doing a good job, but you are putting that on yourself. And so where can you find those moments? That's the practice, right? That's the everyday thing when they come up and then you just catch yourself and you go, I'm doing a great job as a mom. And you know that, like, check in with your values. What are your values, right? Are they, I want my child to be happy, safe, feel loved, feel like they can speak their mind. Like, getting to those base values, like that's where it's at, right? And you recheck in with those, get back in your head with I am a great mom. I'm doing a great job because I don't have to, I've never been the mom that was ahead on all the summer camps and all this stuff. I mean, like I dropped the ball a zillion times and so what, right? But that is the practice.
Amy, I love that you're talking about this because literally before I jumped on here, I was calling, trying to figure out if we still had a place for summer camp. Like literally right before this podcast, I was like,
dude,
did I miss it? Is she going to make it?
And that's it. She's going to fail out of school now and her life is ruined.
Right. That's the one thing that did it with summer camp of 2024, right? Like that's going to be
That was it. Right. So
so
it's all those things.
Like for you through this though, is like, were you always like this? Did this kind of journey of this kind of like effort kind of momentum with you, like, were you like this before being a mom, or did a lot of this come, like you said, after motherhood for you? And does it continue to get stronger for you?
I think I grew up with some conflicting messages. And so I've had it in me, but it was that people pleaser thing, right? There was my parents were children of the 50s. They were born in 1936. So they were a little older. My mom always said she was born 10 years ahead too early. She should have been burning bras and stuff. But instead, she was like a housewife and she did writing and all these things. So she was super interesting, but just came a little early. And so my dad didn't have any sons. He just had myself and my sister, and he wanted us to live really independent lives. He set us up really well with investments, and he taught us really well, and he wanted us to be independent. And then at the same time, he was like, I really want you to get a good husband who supports you. And and then we're seeing this old-fashioned model of my parents. My mom didn't work, my dad did, and they stayed married and all this. And so I think that I was just sort of like, which one do I go? Like, can I
Yeah.
have both? And so I think it was always in there because I always had a real independent streak. I've never really held down like a really solid office job or anything like that. Like, I'm not that type of person. I have a much more entrepreneurial and free spirit where I want to
Mhm.
create. And I've always been like that. And I majored in like philosophy and religion, in college. My parents were like, great. And so I think it was a mix, and I think it was just me really stepping into who I was. But I think that is in all of us, that true north that we can tap into. It's just a matter of really getting in touch with it. And it takes time. I mean, I'm turning 52 this year, and I'm still learning, and I'm still learning things about myself,
Hold
So
on,
yeah.
hold on. Carla and I's mouth just dropped.
Oh,
Carla,
thank
you
you.
and me were like,
Oh, I know. I was like, what? 52? Oh my
Amy, you are
God.
like just a light for us because we're 42 right now, and we're loving this journey. And there are challenges that come getting older, right? And challenges that also come like just as like who we and hearing somebody who is older than us, right? And first of all, looks like you, which I would never think that at all. But has
Thank
that
you.
energy and that spirit and that like passion still. Like it's like the older we get, I feel like we just become more powerful and more beautiful. And like I'm excited to see like all of us women getting older and getting smarter and getting wiser and like tapping into parts of ourselves that like you said, were there. They were there. It's just there's something about motherhood and getting older that you just start to look deeper and you start to let things out that like it was hard to let out at a younger age. It's such an
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah. It really was hard to let that stuff out when we were younger.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. If anybody's watching this is going to be like, what? But yeah, getting older and just releasing all of the bullshit that we've had to deal with. And it's so interesting, right? Like when we're younger, we're biologically equipped to have and carry these kids, but mentally and emotionally we're just not really there. But when we get older, our bodies are not equipped really that great to do, carry children, but like we're so much more in touch with who we are, and we stop caring, we stop people pleasing as much and all of that. So it's just kind of interesting how that works out. Like we should have kids. I mean, not should, but like I'm glad I had my daughter older because I think I would have had an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, like biologically we're made to have the kid at 14 or something,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have a friend who had a baby at 15 and she had another baby at 33 or something like that. She was like night
Same.
and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. You did
Wow.
too?
Same. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's like Amy, speaking of our mothers and stuff and honoring our mothers and our journey, my mom had me at 19, she was pregnant, had me at 20. I was being raised with her being raising herself,
oh my
like
God.
as she was still figuring out how to be a woman, I was being raised by that. So
Yeah.
like there's such a beautiful relationship between us and our daughters and mothers and that whole thing, and that's what we love about this. But like it really there's no rule book on how we do this. There's no like set
Right.
thing on how this journey is going to look for each of us, right? Like, and I think what happens when we become mothers too, and like you said, is it's like you almost just stop and you're like, who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What legacy am it's you just I don't know, you just stop and you go deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. There's no rule book. So we can look at that as like, oh fuck, there's no rule book. But also we can
Yeah.
look at it like, you know what? I get to make the rule book. I get to
Yes.
make this what it is. So what are
Yes.
you going to create? What are you going to make your legacy? And
Mhm.
and it feels good to honor my mom today. And like here's this legacy of her namesake and just being in that space of like, that's right. You know what? We're standing up on our own 2 feet. We're women. We're sitting here on a podcast, like
Yeah.
broadcasting it to the world, inspiring other women. So maybe they start a podcast, they inspire women. Who knows? Right.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
really incredible. There is no rule book. So choose to flip that into the thing that's going to work for you to be like, that's right. I get to rewrite. I get to write. I get to make it what I dream of. I get to create the life I desire, which is true. And your best days are still to come, which is a big part of my message, and that's like
Yes.
my age, everything. I'm like, you know what? Some of your
Yes.
best days haven't even happened yet. So stay in that, keep going through the sludge, like Carla said, and you're going to see the light. You're going to feel better. You're going to write your own rule book.
Yeah. I really, really want to touch back on, though, when you said you turned after becoming a mom, you went to rock and roll. Like, how did that happen? Can you please explain? Because that sounds really
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, I know. I had 2 daughters. I was 38 and some friends were just kind of getting together for lunch. I live in Austin, so everybody's a musician here pretty much. And so they were like, "Hey, let's like learn instruments and meet for lunch once a week." And so they did. I was pregnant and I was like, "I can't right now." And so a year went by and they had all kind of fallen into roles that they liked. And one girl moved away and they said, "Will you join us now?" She played guitar, so we have an opening. And I said, "I don't play guitar." And they said, "We don't care." And so I stepped in and I picked up guitar at 38. And we started playing out and we could draw a crowd. We started learning instruments. And after 3 years, the band kind of fell apart and took different directions. And I was 40 at this time, or almost 40, 41. And I just decided to do it on my own. And I just ended up I had kind of a crisis, like, what am I going to do? But I also checked in, like, what am I showing my girls? And I was like, you know what, this scares the shit out of me, but I want to show them that a woman can do something at any age, and that includes putting on leather pants with an electric guitar and getting on stage and fucking Austin, Texas, and rocking the shit out of stuff, right? And so I did. And and I wrote 5 albums in my 40s and released them and played music. And it wasn't like I could be a touring artist. I mean, people do it. I think, if they're at a certain level, it's a lot easier if you're a mom, like if you're Gwen Stefani, and you have a lot of, money and help and all that. And I wanted to be with my kids. I didn't have that. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be touring and all that, but I still played out and did things. And so I kept that up until my last album that I released was a double album called Magic in 2018. And then I've just moved into some other things since then. So yeah, it was
Okay,
wild.
Amy, like the best is yet to come. Best effing message ever, and such an amazing reminder to everyone, because we all think it's over, it's downhill, we're getting older, we have kids, whatever we were going to do in our youth we don't get to do, it's gone because we're moms. And we always talk about this. We started a podcast at 40, right? You're making albums, in your 40s
Yeah,
with kids. Everyone listening, like, if you are a woman, a mom, the best is yet to come is the message I wish we all heard. It wasn't like we're just dying when we become moms, or we're just dying when we hit 40. We're just fucking starting in some
It's
ways.
just beginning
that's
for
It's
right.
us.
just getting good, people. Like, and
That's
Amy,
right.
you're such an example of that. Like, it's
Thank you.
so fucking inspiring to see
I'm
such a
happier.
beautiful person, a
Thank you.
mother, this spirit, like, just doing what she wants to do and not losing who she is. In fact,
That's right.
finding it even more and then
Right.
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
It
Like,
takes practice. It takes practice. Don't think that it doesn't. It takes daily diligence. It takes staying on top of your self practices, your self love. I do a mirror practice every morning where I say, I
yes.
love you in the mirror. I draw cards. I do Reiki to myself. I mean, and I keep it brief. I meditate. I do these things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is your upkeep. But I am happier now than I have ever been in my entire life. I live in a place that I like better than any place I ever have. I'm engaged to a man 15 years younger than me who is a fucking
Yes.
badass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Can we just like, yes.
yeah, I am starting a new company right now. We just launched a nonprofit initiative that I have dreamed of for so many years, which I dreamed of, and then suddenly it presented itself to me. And we're helping the Batwa Pygmy women in Uganda, and he has a nonprofit, Fight for the Forgotten, and because he's a former UFC fighter, and this is called Fight for Her underneath Fight for the Forgotten. And I mean, like, it's just like so exciting and so good. You're going to enter new chapters that are going to blow your fucking mind. So do the work every day to show up for yourself, because that's how it happens.
Yes. And you brought up fear, but like fear is actually not a bad thing. You have to rephrase it and look at that fear as
Mm.
it telling you, you need to come to me because this is going to change your life if you're able to face it. If you keep running away, then nothing's going to fucking change. And you're going to live your life in your little fucking box. But the moment you feel that fear, you have to know it's a good sign. Walk towards it. Cuz look what it did for you.
I love that. Yes. Use it as, what's the word that they're using now? It's like the positive version of trigger. Can you remember what that is?
I
There's
don't know.
something people are saying, and I really like it. And it's like the opposite of that. It's like, oh, it's like activating me,
Oh,
Oh,
like
I
let
know.
yeah.
that fear
Yeah.
activate you
Yes.
Yeah.
instead of choosing it as a trigger, which can make you physically retract, right? But
Yeah.
we can open up if we use it.
I love that.
Okay,
I love
here's some
that.
space. Here's something to investigate,
Well, you hear
Cool.
trigger, and we immediately, like you said, we go inward and we almost go shame, right? Like we're triggered into a traumatic place. But sometimes you're right. It is an activation. An F it moment is an activation. We talk about this.
Mm,
An F it moment is literally a mental shift of, I'm fucking changing this. I don't like, I'm effing gonna go after, I'm gonna walk into the fear, into the change. And we say this, and that's why we have this space as mothers. We have the responsibility of our children, our partners, everyone relying on us. Summer camp's going to be there. We got to get them signed up, right? Lunch has to be all. We have all this responsibility that these effort moments, these big changes, they're so much harder because they affect everyone around us. And so a lot of times women go, we're just gonna like ignore those effort moments, right? But we're just gonna keep
mhm,
everything very safe because my kids need me, my partner needs me. I got to show, you know what I mean? And we actually show up so much better for our children and our partners and ourselves when we do give into those effort moments, and we do just effing start making music, or you know what I mean, starting
mhm,
that nonprofit, creating that podcast, right?
mhm.
Like so much more happens.
Yeah, that's the version that your family actually needs.
Yes.
Like
Ah, yeah.
that is the version of you they actually need, because then when you are tapping into that lights you up, it literally seeps into every freaking relationship and aspect of your life when you are living like how you are living your life. Like you're saying you're the happiest that you've ever been. I'm sure the energy around that you're omitting and the relationships that attracts and maintains is infectious. Like that's how you have a happy life, when you
Yeah.
live in line with what's firing you up.
Yeah, and I think that there's like what you guys were both just saying. I think there's like this misnomer or misconception about when you say "F it," right? As if you don't care. But the
Yeah.
reality is you actually are really caring about the thing that really matters. My mental
Yes.
health matters more than your bullshit, right?
Yes.
Like F it.
Yes.
I'm going to lean into what I really truly care about. And so it's a
Yep.
funny like kind of paradox with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right, because a lot of people might be like, "Oh, they're just saying F it, they don't care, they're nonchalant." No,
Right.
it's the opposite. We're
Yeah.
saying F it to living in a reality anymore that does not go forward into the things that are change for ourselves. Carla and I are we saw this happen for us, we became moms around, an older time. We turned 40. Her and I are like a month apart in birthday. Something shifted at
Oh.
40s, like for us. And in that F it attitude, like you said, thank you for clarifying for that. This isn't a careless effort. This is an
Mm-mm.
The
active
purposeful.
everyday effort, just like you said, Amy. And it's a daily practice to yourself. It is a daily commitment. Carla's big on affirmations. I meditate. We pray. Like it's taking care of yourself and falling in love with yourself in a different way. And it doesn't just come easy. You don't just see somebody
Mhm.
like you doing all these amazing things without you putting in that work for yourself. And that work is saying, F it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you for saying that. It's true. I try to emphasize that to people. Like it doesn't just happen, right?
No,
So people that you'd go like, wow, she's effortlessly, whatever. It's like, no, pull back
no.
the curtain. And truly, it just takes that diligence and work. And that's what makes the freedom. One of my favorite quotes is from Charlie Parker. And he says, master the music, master the notes, and then forget all that shit and just play. And it's so true
Yes.
because in life, you master the habits and the things that truly serve you. You know, relaxing your mind, being kind to your children, finding that patience. That's what you're channeling when you meditate. You're teaching yourself to just like, and then you're able to forget all that shit and just play. And
I love that.
that's where the juice and beauty of life is. And so pretty soon it becomes who you are. It's like brushing your teeth. You're going to do it. You're going to tune in. You're going to care for yourself. And that is going to make you the best version of yourself, the best mom, the best lover, the best friend, ex, right? Best podcaster, right? Whatever.
Yeah. It's so true. It's funny because I had boxing this morning and we were in the middle of a session and it brought exactly what you set up. Like I go in, I work on these tiny little moves, right? My defense, these little small things so that when I do spar, it becomes a dance that I can let go of. Because every single day I do a little bit of practice on what I need to do so that when I get in there to a fight, I can let it go and have fun with it, right? That's life. Every little day, a little bit of practice for the dance, for the fight, whatever it is, so that when it is happening, you can just be in it, right? And I can't go in and spar and win a fight if I haven't practiced the little things every single day so that I don't get killed.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to get knocked out if I'm not putting those little daily hour workouts of coaching. And that is the same with life. Like, thank you for saying that. You got to keep giving yourself those little workouts, those coaching sessions, right? So that when you're ready to like fight, you're ready to like dance in it. Like that quote that you did, I want to save that, Carla, and post it, because being able to just let yourself go and live and enjoy, but also knowing that you've been training,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so true. And for me, that really looks like daily practices. It looks like getting up earlier, early when I don't want to, but getting up before my kids. It looks like going to bed a little earlier when maybe I don't want to. It's those little compromises that's what adds up. And for me, getting up earlier is a massive key. And it's a bummer sometimes because you want to stay in bed, but really I know that I'm setting myself up for a much happier day all the way around. I'm not going to be chasing my day, right? Like I'm showing up as the best version of myself in all the situations that I encounter because I took that time for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, there's actual research behind. I listen to Mel Robbins all the time. We do, and there's actual research behind. Like, if you hit the snooze button, like you are actually there's some sort of like chemical that's released in your brain that makes you less want to be productive in your day. Like you just have to do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that she always talks about, and get up when you don't feel like it.
Yes.
Actually, you just have to not think about it. You just do it. Like the Nike sign, you
just
fucking do it. Just do it.
That's why I said you just fucking F it. Just do it. You just F it. Like you just gotta F and get up. Okay. And like it's not a surprise that like the people we listen to and we are inspired by, and all of us, and I know how we all, a little of what you've shared, Amy, but like I know Carla and I, how we actively get up early and do all these things, right? These things matter. I try to get to bed at the same time. Everyone that I know and listen to right now and hear conversations with are doing this kind of work. So yeah, we see all the big fun and the success, but every single person is living in some like meditate every day, get up early, like they've taken enough control in their life to do those daily practices. And then you watch people and you're like, man, they have it all. And it is such a reminder that like you can be a mom, you can have all the summer camps and things you have to do, and you can still do all these things through your daily practice and then be whoever you want to be. It's all there. It just takes work.
Building mental strength. I mean, that's what it does. It builds mental strength. And if you can be mentally strong, then you can start believing that you can do these things. So it's super important to have these things. I want to ask you, did you experience any imposter syndrome though? Like, have you had that? Because when we talk about like when you start new things, you're just like, oh my God, who am I to be like stepping into this rock and roll sort of thing? Did you experience that? And what did you do to push that out?
I've had like full nervous breakdowns. Are you kidding me? I've been crying on the kitchen floor. I wrote a song about it. Yeah. I mean, like, full, but when you have kids, you can only do that for so long. And then you're like, okay, I gotta fucking get my shit together.
My mental breakdown is over now.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yes. So I would say those are the, more concise versions, but in a deeper way. Yes. Carla, I have definitely had to overcome that as well. And it's the same as the stories of I'm not a good mom, right? It's just getting what you believe down. And then you really work to embody that through your practices and everything. So it's, it's again, a practice for me, and I have to constantly tune into it and just like the sense, I think maybe as a mom looking at your kids and understanding that beginner mentality, that fun of life, that fun of learning, like, and you just are able to let it go a little bit easier, and we can lose that the older that we get. So if you can keep that perspective of like, oh, I'm learning. And I did a speaking engagement, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, and I hadn't spoken much in front of people, and I really wanted to do a good job. And it wasn't a huge group, it was a lot of moms too. And I was very excited about it. And so, but I was nervous because I was like, fuck, I've never really, I've talked on my podcast and all that, but I was like, ugh. And so, um, they had some angel cards like sitting out, like it was like the day before or something. And I saw the angel cards and I was like, I'm going to draw one. And I drew one, and it said, it either said beginner or like inexperienced. It said inexperienced. And I was like, well, God damn it. I was like, it's seeing right through me. And I was like, yeah, but you know what? We have to start somewhere. So no matter
Yes.
what it
Yeah.
is, just start and keep going.
Just go.
And even experienced people have imposter syndrome, of course. So it takes that practice of just knowing who you are, knowing that, again, to draw on a music analogy, they say there are no wrong words when you're on stage. That's just the way you sang it that time. And that
Right.
applies to
Right.
life too, right? Like this, that's just the way you did it that time. And we're the ones imposing all these rules. So the more you can lean into letting those things go and getting that down on a practice and really like tapping into your self love, the more that's going to pass. And I'm
Of
not
Yes.
course.
saying I
Yeah.
completely don't have it anymore, because it can still crop up, but those are just old things that I know I'm strong enough in my practices to get through now, and they pass a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And everyone starts somewhere. Everyone starts
Yeah.
somewhere. Everyone feels it at some time. You're not alone. Amy, I'm going to ask you this last question, and I just again want to thank you so much for all of your inspiring words. You are exactly what I needed to hear today.
Yes.
I just came out of a very
Ah.
strong mom mental breakdown over the past month, and just
Oh.
I just needed to hear your love for life again, right? Because I think I was like on the bottom floor crying like weeks ago. So I'm like, thank you for your words, and I know Carla's grateful. My last question then to leave with everybody before we tell everyone where they can find you and follow you and listen to you. What is you started this with like your mom. You started this with your daughter. What is your legacy you're leaving? What are you leaving for everyone? What is your words to your children, and what would be your message that you're most like proud of, you know?
Mm. I think it is that we have it all within ourselves. And my legacy is that I never I never just hung it up. I never
Mhm,
stopped growing. I was always committed to being the best version of myself, and whatever that looks like, and
mhm.
being kind, living from love, living my values, being honest, and being a, just a truly a person that gave love to others. I think that that's it.
Yeah.
It's about love.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold back. I don't want to keep anything from anyone. I want to check in with myself, and I want to just truly love people unconditionally and let go of judgments and all those things. And I hope that my kids can say that about me after I'm gone.
I'm sure they will.
And
Oh, yeah.
thank you. That's
Yeah.
who I truly want to be. It's not about, oh, she did this and she did that and she had
No.
a million downloads or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not those numbers. It's not that. Nobody's checking your bank account at your funeral. And
Amen.
Yeah. True.
so,
Yeah.
I think it's really like I walked the walk of what I talked about. And that is who I strive to be. That is my legacy. Thank you for asking that, because I was like, oh gosh, what is it? So,
Sometimes you have to remind yourself, and I always tell people like through my coaching sessions, and that's always what we wrap around to. It's what's your purpose? What's your why? Why are you doing it? What is your purpose? And we lose it sometimes. And once we like revisit to like, this is who I want to be. Why do I want to be this? This is my purpose here. It makes doing it a lot easier. So thank you for sharing that. Amy, where
Yeah.
can everyone find you, follow you, your podcast, all the things? Can you share that with them?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And just thank you so much, y'all. This has been a blast for me, especially on this day to get to have this
Yeah.
conversation. Oh my gosh, this is so
Oh,
special. I can't thank you. And you're both just absolutely,
yeah, how great that it ended up being on the anniversary of your mother's
I
passing,
know.
so, the
Yeah,
stars
it
aligned.
seemed
They did.
serendipitous. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you both are just gorgeous badasses. So it's been
I
a real
mean,
treat
people,
and
you
honor.
gotta watch the YouTube
So
video of
I know.
Amy.
If anyone's listening to
it's
this
so sweet.
podcast, I strongly suggest you go to YouTube
You're
and
so
watch it
sweet.
as well because Amy is just
Making me
absolutely beautiful
blush.
inside and out.
You're making me blush. Thank you. Well, anybody can go to Amy Edwards, amyedwards.info, and it's AMY, just like it sounds. Amyedwards.info has literally everything I mentioned. It has Fight for Her. It has every podcast, or like the last probably 50 are on there. You can just slide across and see what interests you. My podcast, The Amy Edwards Show, is all about living your best life at any age through mindset shifts and better habits, exactly what we talked about on this show. And so,
Yep.
Nice.
yeah, and I absolutely love doing it. And you can scroll down. I have courses. I have a free course called The Ageless Mindset. Super easy. You can complete it in like 30 minutes. And just, see all that I do. Connect with me. Follow me on the socials at Real Amy Edwards or the Magic Babe on TikTok. So yeah, love to connect with
I love
everybody.
it.
I'd love to.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel so inspired. I'm just gonna after this, I'll be like, "Oh my god."
Ah, that's the best compliment.
Yeah, yeah, I feel so great. Thank you so much. You really infused like an energy, at least in me, so I'm sure it'll come across. And you,
Yay.
Romy, I'm sure it'll come
Oh,
across to the women that are listening to this. Thank you so much for your energy. You're beautiful, and we're so
thank
grateful
you.
for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Likewise. Thank you so
Amy,
much.
this is the end where we are each going to say just F it and you will start with it. So go ahead, Carla, next, and then I'll finish it.
Just F it.
Just F it.
Just F it.